The first kind of significant case I ever worked on here in this office, right out of law school, was a police shooting case. We represented the family of a man who comes to his door with a stick in his hand because he hears something outside. Two police officers had been summoned to his location by some neighbors, and he opens the door with hearing somebody out in his driveway, not knowing who. He opens the door to look, and they shoot him.
Hands up, Ernie! Don't you move! Ernie, don't you move! I will shoot you! Hands up! Now!
And violence in the streets of Anaheim. Anaheim police firing rubber bullets confront a crowd of terrified children, parents, and angry residents near La Palma and Acacia. Then one officer unleashes a snarling police dog which attacks a mother holding her child and this bystander.
July 21st, 2013 is 1 year from when my son, Manuel Diaz, was killed by Officer Nick Benelet. Well, that evening, while I was at the hospital and then from the hospital went home in shock, there was an uprising of the people of the community, and they were upset that Manuel was killed in broad daylight in front of children. So then Sunday night, there was another killing. And the citizens even got more upset because not only do you kill on Saturday, you also kill another young man on Sunday.
My son, Joel Acevedo, was killed on July 22nd, 2012 by the Anaheim police. The day after, they killed another young man, Manuel Diaz, on July 21st. When my son was killed, there was children looking down at what happened to him. My son, he was beaten, handcuffed, and then shot in the back of the head.
So there was an uprising of people trying to make a statement like, no more, we don't want any more killing. And I met people that day, people that have gone through this in the past, because this is not a one-time thing. These murders have been going on for years.
The response was so heavy-handed. But, the upshot of it was that, there was, to a certain extent, a groundswell of frustration just being voiced against that kind of policing. I have been doing police shooting cases for 22 years. And in those 22 years or so, I had never had any interest in having folks truly protest like folks are protesting now. Up until just recently, I mean, I'm not sure what it was. If people were afraid, if there was some social stigma maybe to it. But after the Occupy movement, everybody got the green light. It was like, hey, it's okay to do this. And in fact, you better do this.
Tuesday's the anniversary of his murder.
You doing something over there?
My son, 19-year-old Kenneth Harding, was murdered right here by SFPD over a $2 transit fare for allegedly evading. So it was running through this plaza right here with his hands up. He had a cell phone in his hands. They said he had a gun and shot him 10 times in the back and made him lay right here and bleed out and die. Both of these playgrounds were filled with children while they were firing, and the children witnessed Kenny's murder as well.
My brother, Stephen Boers, he was murdered by the Downey PD March 20th, 2010. They shot him in the street. We don't even know he was we do know he was innocent. They shot him 10 times. 10 times for jaywalking, right here.
Es porque a mí me mataron un hijo, estando arrestado dentro de la patrulla, esposado. Lo esposaron tan fuerte que se le arrancó la piel de sus brazos, de su muñeca, se le arrancó la piel y él pedía que le aflojaran las esposas. Entonces no lo escucharon. Les pateó la ventana y fue cuando llegó el oficial Noriega, Marisela Noriega, llegó y abrió la puerta y le disparó.
There was a robbery in the area that night, and the police profiled him and thought he was the suspect, but he wasn't. He was innocent, unarmed, and just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
When my son was shot 48 times inside of the Metreon Theater, he was 23, a young black man. That's 12 years ago. I don't see any change.
They're truly, in Southern California and certainly in Northern California too, but particularly, my experience is that there has been an epidemic of police shootings.
My brother Martin Angel Hernandez was murdered by Officer Dan Hurtado from the Anaheim Police Department.
He was 23 years old. He was shot 23 times. 1 bullet for every year of his life.
My son was shot twice in the chest.
They shot 48 rounds at our son.
Twice to the head, once to the heart.
They shot him 4 times in the upper torso.
And he shot him in the back.
He was shot in the back of the head.
He was shot 7 times in the mouth.
Anaheim felt it their need to execute him and shoot him in the head so close that it left flash burns on his face.
He turned around with his hands up, and the officer shot him in his heart.
They said that he lunged himself to the cop. Then they changed it that he had a gun.
They lie, they steal, murder, and they cover up. So, I mean, this is not just a citizen, a self-appointed citizen. This is someone who wears a badge, someone who has a history of police brutality. Officer Miguel Masso abused a prisoner in New York. He denied him medical treatment. And when that young man stood up for himself and a lawsuit was filed, he moved from New York, got a job in the Bay Area, and killed my son. And it's just repeated because what happens is there's police officers that's been on the force for a long time who has a history of killing young men or killing people, and what they do is they get promoted.
The officer who killed my son was also involved killing another young man, and a lot of these officers have killed multiple times and they're still on the street, and there's been no accountability.
Badge or no badge, murder is murder.
No one should have the right to kill another human being.
They think because they got a badge that they could go and take an innocent person's life, and that's their license to kill.
Ahora los policías no toman conciencia para hacer las cosas. Ellos cometen los asesinatos y salen con que mi vida corría peligro. Mentiras. Siempre salen con eso.
The excuse du jour now is, the suspect tried to grab my gun. And, we're dealing with a series of 4 cases where a group of deputies from a certain geographic area here in Los Angeles are making that the defense. And, the amazing thing, there's 2 shootings within literally a 2-week period, and that was the defense. One of them is on video, and it's shocking.
It's very hard. It's a very hard situation for anyone to have to see their family member get murdered on camera. When people hear of it, often the police is killing an individual, but a lot of people don't see that. This guy was caught on camera killing my cousin, and it's just really sad because that guy only served 11 months in county jail. If I was to go kill somebody right now today, and I would serve life.
There's a few of these celebrity cases that, Oscar Grant being another. that get all the national press, and people, rightfully so, get up in arms. But we have to realize is these are it is an epidemic. These are happening in communities all across the nation.
As a community member, I was appalled at the treatment of Oscar Grant, and he was stolen away from their family. I was appalled at the treatment of Trayvon Martin, and he was stolen away from their family. I'm appalled at each time I hear mothers cry. I am appalled on the brutality in New York, and I am tremendously appalled, angered, hurt, living through pain every day. I feel as though I was robbed. They stole my son from me. And I'm appalled. I'm here to take a stand against police brutality. It affects each and every one of us every day.
But instead of fear, we're stepping up with power. Power from the heart, power for our loved ones.
We speak up for all mothers and not just myself, so I think that's where the solidarity really comes in.
Unidos es mejor, porque desunidos, uno por un lado, otro por el otro, no podemos lograr nada.
What we've discovered, the power that we've discovered in ourselves and in each other, when we come together and march, what we do is we make an impact. We make an impact that people have to pay attention to.
It's a powerful thing when you can come together, no matter what race you are, for one common goal.
Well, the reason why we're marching on July 21st is because we are standing in solidarity with all of the families that have lost their children to police brutality, and we just feel like it's really important for people to know our story out here in San Francisco, and also to create some healing for the community.
The back-to-back murders of Manuel Diaz and George Zimmerman last year, we were already engaged in this community. We came out here to protest, and they locked us out of city council. They infuriated the masses, and the masses rose up. So we're out here a year later, not only to commemorate that, but to build off of that.
And I'm going to stand up with the rest of the mommies in the state of California and say no longer will we allow or accept you to take anything away from us. How dare you?
I'm going to the Anaheim march because I think it's really important for different families who've lost people to police violence to work together and organize together to resist.
I believe I was told there's at least 30 families that have signed up of police brutality, murder by cops. This march is important to make awareness. I wish this would go around the world just to show that our sons and daughters are being killed, not even committing a crime, and they're being shot down. I just pray that we get a good amount of people, and that these people make a difference for everyone, not for one, but for all.
All right, y'all, we got to take this to the streets. Y'all want to march? Y'all want to march? Y'all want to march? Y'all want to march?
Upset is not the word. We're horrified by the verdict out of Stanford, Florida. They looked at the Trayvon Martin case as if some innocent person, not a murdering stalker, who stole the life of a 17-year-old child and hid behind a law called Stand Your Ground. Well, we're here to stand our ground.
Trayvon Martin was murdered by somebody who was acting like what he thought a cop should act like. And that says a lot right there, that the public perception of what a police officer is somebody who shoots an unarmed man, an unarmed child even, right? And so he got away with it. He got away with it because of what George Zimmerman perceived his role as a protector of his community to be, you know. And every single one of us that's out here fighting for a loved one that we've lost understands what it's like to have your loved one murdered by somebody who thinks that they're protecting the public, who thinks that they're doing their job, but really what they're doing is they're destroying families and they're destroying communities, because communities consist of families working together. And when you destroy one family in a community, there's a ripple effect.
There's just really something symbolic about taking the struggle out of the black and brown neighborhoods and taking it into some more affluent areas where we're sort of deemed to be out of place. We feel like because Trayvon Martin was shot and murdered outside of his community in a neighborhood where he was believed to be looking suspicious and out of place, we thought that, hey, let's go to the, you know, the epicenter of wealth and prestige in Los Angeles, which is Beverly Hills. You know, a lot of folks like to frame this as, you know, why are you guys so concerned about getting revenge on Zimmerman? You know, revenge is like, this isn't just about Zimmerman. This isn't just about Trayvon Martin. This is about, you know, a structure in which black and brown people are being targeted. We're targeted.
And Trayvon Martin is a microcosm of what young black and brown and poor people in general go through throughout this country. And we understand that it's not just about his life not meaning nothing to this system, but we understand that all lives are equally invaluable to this society.
What distinguishes the Trayvon Martin case, the Zimmerman case, is that there's a kind of subtle, you know, kind of racism that has, you know, just kind of revealed itself.
Straight from the horse's mouth, we are buried treasure. Vagabonds travel on gravels, all battle going strong forever. This is straight from the horse's mouth, we are buried treasure. Vagabonds travel on gravel, battle going strong forever.
You know, there is one blessing in this despicable thing, and that is that Trayvon Martin did not die in vain if we make it so. It can be the beginning of the civil rights movement that didn't reach the conclusion it needed to reach. It can be the movement that puts a lie to the notion that racism is dead in America. It can be the movement that tells us that you can have a black president, you can have all sorts of laws on the books, but if you don't have an aroused, militant, determined, angry people in the streets of this country, you will never be free.
It's time that we stand up, not just today. That we keep standing, that we keep moving. A movement never dies. We do not allow them to lock our movement up and to scare our movement away. This is the beginning of a movement. We're marching out here. People are marching around this country demanding justice. See how sunsetting, X marks the spot for unknown danger. Metal buzz fly from highs, disguises lines. Till bees mumble, then the bees split your wig and leave the weave tumble. Cave Billy. We're gonna build this movement. I'll tell you right now, later this month, people are gonna go on July 21st from here to Los Angeles for a statewide march against police brutality. We need a San Francisco-wide movement. We need a Bay Area-wide movement. We need a California-wide movement. We need a nationwide movement. We need a worldwide movement. If you want to shoot somebody down in cold blood, if you want to oppress somebody because they don't have any money, if you want to keep people out of work, you need to be on notice. We will come for you. The people of this country will come. We're not afraid. We're not afraid to stand up. Trayvon means fight back.
It's not about George Zimmerman going to jail or not. Yeah, he needs to face the repercussions for his actions, but at the end of the day, whether he goes to jail or not, we're still at risk here on these streets. So until that changes, we're going to be in here in these streets. We have to have something that's going to create systemic long-term change, that's going to prevent young people of color, poor people from getting round up in mass incarceration in the prison industrial complex, that's going to prevent us from getting laid down in these streets, that prevents the media and the education talking about us as if we have no worth, not even talking about our real history and what we've done to this society.
You know, it's part of this economic structure to where for-profit prisons, you know, make money from black and brown bodies being in jail, and this whole notion of racial profiling, this whole practice of racial profiling, that's where it stems from.
You know, my uncle being incarcerated for a crime he didn't commit, there was witnesses that testified on the stand that said my uncle didn't do it. He wasn't even involved. You understand? He was trying to squash a neighborhood altercation, but he ended up in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he's still in prison to this day.
Police, either explicitly or implicitly, just, you know, kind of don't give a shit, you know, and it's that attitude. And, you know, the argument always is, well, hell, they wouldn't be treating folks like this, you know, in Beverly Hills. And they wouldn't. And, you know, do dangerous people live in Beverly Hills? Absolutely.
It makes it hard for the youth to really trust the police after everything that we see in the media, as well as what we hear in our own communities. And I think it affects all of us in a way where it makes us hard to like trust the police, and it makes us like worry about what our money is going towards when we put our money into the police. Is it going towards targeting our youth, targeting our people, or is it going towards protecting us?
We've always thought that by being successful in civil cases and having the cities and counties and other government entities paying a ton of money, that they would feel it and that would affect change, okay? After 20 years, it's only gotten worse.
There are so many communities that have been affected. There are so many families, so many women, so many mothers who have lost their sons, sisters who have lost their brothers, all to the hands of the racist cops. Now, I gotta tell you, when the whole system is racist, the only option you have is to organize, to fight back, and to shut that system down.
Congress is not going to change it. Holder, the DOJ are not going to change it. Police reform is an oxymoron.
How hard have we looked at violent crime resolution rates? How hard have we looked at solved homicides? How many people are they saving versus how many people are they killing? These are the hard questions that we have to ask in each and every community. And if the numbers do not add up, then it's incumbent upon the people to start making some difficult moves and decisions.
On this day, 1 year ago, Manuel Diaz was executed by the police in the middle of the day. He was already shot once, he was on his knees, he was surrendering, and he was just shot in the head by about 5 feet away by an Anaheim police officer. Since that past year, the families of Joel Acevedo and Manuel Diaz connected with so many other families and have been building this initiative. And what's happened here today is you guys have come from Northern California, there's people coming from San Diego, Oxnard, Central California, all over, to converge on Anaheim to say that this point that was known as the epicenter of the resistance to police brutality, that those people just didn't go home once those protests were over, that they've stayed active, they've stayed networking, and what's happened now is something truly historic. Like, we have never seen this before. If you look around the room at all of these faces, these are the more than 30 people who are represented here today. Families, every one of these people on the wall, their families are involved in building this movement. And the entire country is watching us right now. So what we're building here is something real. And it's not just about today. Today is a show of force. Today is to show that we're not sitting down anymore. That we're gonna fight. And that anytime this happens, we're gonna fight. So this is a powerful show of force that we're gonna do today, but it's about how we continue from this day forward to build this movement.
Chicano! Power! Chicano! Power! Chicano! Power! Our streets! Our streets!
Thank you everyone for being here today.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for coming from so far away to join us in this fight for justice. Manuel Diaz, my son, had just been 25 for 8 days before he was murdered by Nick Benelek, a cop. Manuel was a loving son, my only son. I'll never have a grandchild from him. They make them to be the aggressor. Manuel was running for someone he never even seen before. My son was not in a gang, even though they said he was. I really want to say that everybody being here in solidarity for each and every loved one here, all the faces that we're seeing. And we're united here with Trayvon. Trayvon was somebody's son, and he was murdered, and he was racially profiled. Just like all of our loved ones, they have been racially profiled.
What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? 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 Our bandits are under attack. What do we do? Our sisters are under attack.
We're seeing uprisings all over the nation right now. But we have to make sure that these are acknowledged and put in the right context, that they are not just a temporary flare-up due to the immediate proximate cause that dies back down into complacency to this genocidal status quo. This needs to be understood as aspects of a growing consciousness that things have to fundamentally be altered, and then we have to have the humility and the courage to understand that that means work.
No terror! No peace! No justice! No peace! No terror! No peace! Up for the people!
By occupying the streets, we are creating a physical presence that's visible not only nationwide but also internationally, and that creates an opportunity for other people outside of the domestic United States to join the struggle in the fight for equality, in the fight for just laws, in the fight for life, in the fight for women's rights. Just so many different issues that we're trying to, address and also eradicate.
The time is right, it's time for all of our movements to coalesce, and when I get here and I see people from all these different families, and then like the Trayvon Martin supporters, and I see everybody starting to come together, my cup is overflowing with hope, because that's all we have is hope.
Get these animals off these horses! 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 So let's get these animals off these horses!
Don't wait until it's your child. Stand up, get involved in your community, fight back. Stop acting like this is normal, or if the police did it, he must have did something wrong. He must have deserved it. They're still man. They lie.
They don't want to see you come together. They don't want you to unite. They want to lie to you, steal your kids away, and tell you that it's justified. But guess what? We say different. We ain't gonna let down, and we ain't gonna back down. We're gonna fight for justice and fight for what we deserve.
We're not going to stand idly and watch you murder us.
I'm usually quiet about a lot of things, but I'm not quiet about this.
And I just hope that we continue to fight. We can't stop. We have to continue to fight.
We've been standing strong with other families about our son, about your son, sons to come.
I will never, never, give up to fight for my son.
Some of us will never stop until our last breath to show love and solidarity and find the angle to beat this.
We don't want it to happen to another family. And the more people that know about the police brutality, the more that they can understand the pain that we're going through, and the more that people come out to support us, that we can be heard.
They take me home. Stand up. 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 Stand up.
What comes first must come last, and what comes last must come first. No greed, no need, no class. Our brothers and sisters are free at last. Rise up like the 26 in Castro. Make room for the sound of the South. Make noise for our sisters in the movement. Now stand up with a powered fist and a vocal tone. Awake the fascist state. Move past the armed badges and the private estates. Fortune turn above ground. Around to that rifle sound. So loud to kill Bill, so venomous. A mother and a child fighting, yes, so vigorous. Like the indigenous on the rise against the imperialists. And yes, 1070 playing that slave master drill.